Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the commencement procession.
already tripped, so I guess it can only go uphill from here. Friends, family, and fellow classmates, it is my honor to welcome you to the commencement for the class of 2019. We made it! And I know everyone says that, but I'm genuinely surprised. It was just a couple of weeks ago that Mr. Duran Medina shared a list with us seniors that included about a third of our class and was named Seniors Not Graduating. I'm not gonna lie, I was on it too. Apparently, me and about 20 other students had not completed the 100 hours of service that are required for graduation. Luckily, I had simply forgotten to log my hours, and the problem was quickly resolved. Speaking about forgetting to do things, I actually have a few things that I need to finish before we start with this whole graduation thing. I've been meaning to write these thank you cards. You guys don't mind if I do them now? Don't worry, Mom, I'll do the thank you cards for my bat mitzvah tomorrow. Thank you, Sage, for all the times you tricked me into believing the tofu was chicken. But in all seriousness, thank you, parents. Upon reflecting on all the new responsibilities my fellow classmates and I will be taking on in the next year, I've realized how many things you do for me that go unnoticed. Like the clean pile of laundry that magically appears on my bed every week, or the delicious home-cooked meals that I eat every night. Thank you for the endless amount of sacrifices you have made to get me to where I am today. Words cannot describe how thankful I am for them, or how lucky I am to have you. Sincerely, your loving daughter, Carly. Thank you, upper school administrators. First of all, thank you, Mr. Page, for changing the dress code. We're incredibly lucky that we have a faculty that listens to our wishes. Thank you to our college counselors for making sure we all graduate. And most importantly, thank you, Ms. Morlando, for always excusing our tardies. Without these people and so many more, the high school wouldn't run nearly as smoothly as it does. Thank you, teachers. We couldn't have done it without you. And that might sound obvious, but you guys have done so much more than just teach us. You have provided us with support and words of encouragement when we need it most. You've gotten to school early and left late for any student who might have needed the extra help. And you have taught us important life lessons that have shaped us into our best selves. I can't tell you how many emails I've received in the last couple of weeks from Ms. Thorne with links to tutorials and practice tests just to make sure we were all ready for the AP exam. In the midst of all the practice problems, she didn't forget to include some calculus memes so we could take a break from stressing and actually laugh. This is the kind of dedication every teacher has provided their students here at Shorecrest. Thank you, teachers, for going above and beyond. Sincerely, your student, Carly. And lastly, thank you, classmates. When I moved here in 8th grade and looked at the sea of new faces, I tried to picture what it would be like 5 years later when we were graduating together. I hoped that these strangers would become my friends, but what I found is so much better. I found a family. Today, I couldn't picture a more perfect class to be graduating alongside. Thank you for the unforgettable memories. Love you guys, your classmate, Carly. Well, now that those are done, I guess we can commence with commencement. Once again, on behalf of the class of 2019, welcome.
Please rise for the alma mater.
push from toil and love will lead us back again.
Good afternoon, family, faculty, special guests, and of course, class of 2019. It's a great honor to be granted the opportunity to speak to you all on this day. Before I commence my speech, I would like to say thanks. Thanks to all my teachers for taking the time to get to know me, for allowing me to get to know them, and for pushing me to be my best self. Thanks for my best friends, for keeping me up with your support, while also keeping me grounded with your roasts and jokes, for sharing a laugh and even a tear every once in a while. Finally, I would like to say thank you to my family, including my cousins, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, my brothers Michael and Nicholas, and most importantly, my parents, for supporting me now and always. I will start with this idea. Failure leads to success. Now, as intuitive as that sounds, I feel some explanation might be necessary. As much as I wish I could be, I'm not perfect, and neither is anyone else that lives on this planet. My experience here at Shorecrest started 15 years ago as an Alpha student. A lot of it is pretty hazy, but what I do remember is that I wasn't always the same honest, introverted, and dashingly handsome academic you see before you. In lower school, I was a bit of a troublemaker. I stole science display rocks, and I urinated on the softball field during splash day. I've come a long way since then. Thank you. We all dread mistakes as the bane of our success, and as human beings, we all will inevitably make them. Mistakes like losing a big game, missing a question in a test in school, or missing an entire class because you have a lot of free periods and it's really easy to get them mixed up. Life is filled to the brim with mistakes, just like learning how to play an instrument. High school is similar to learning how to play an instrument. With the start of freshman year, you have no idea what it's going to be like. You've just heard things, and you kind of like the sound of it. At first, you're not incredibly good at any of the skills necessary, and you're super self-conscious of everything you do, constantly comparing yourself to others. Am I too loud and outgoing? Am I too quiet and submissive? Should I stop slacking off and focus more on practicing? Nah. Why? Because you're still new at this, and as of right now, that normally works as a good excuse. On the first day of high school, I was a nervous wreck. I walked through the side doors because I was too scared to walk through the front doors where all the seniors hung out. On the first day, everyone has their little niche, except for the freshmen. The seniors sit at the tables in the center of the Landy. The juniors go to the library. The sophomores hang out in random corners of the hallways. As freshmen, we did what any logical person would do. All of us sat in the middle of the hallway, with our legs extended on either side, like the villi in a small intestine. And let me tell you, anyone that needed to pass by for whatever reason did not take an immediate liking for us. Asking pairs of students to move their legs in was like going through 37 separate toll booths. Sophomore year eventually comes along. At this point, you've learned how to navigate around your musical repertoire, and the skills needed seem a little easier. But most importantly, you're not a newbie anymore, and you make this very clear with every opportunity you get. I thought sophomore year was going to be one of my better years in high school because not a lot of failures were made, but granted, not a lot of progress was made either. Sophomore year was really just a transition year between freshman year and junior year. Because this year was more relaxed than my previous one, my attire became more relaxed as well. One of my consistent mistakes came with formal dress days. It wasn't a great feeling when you arrived to school in your favorite outfit. You guys know the one: green shirt, tan shorts. Ready to take on the day until you look around. You look back down at what you're wearing, and you realize that everyone looks a lot nicer than you. This was always an oh crap moment for me. Thank the heavens for my mom, who most of the time came to the rescue with fancy clothes that kept me from standing out like a sore thumb. With junior year, it's really time to buckle down and get to work. People actually expect you to be fairly decent at what you do, regardless of whether you are or not. And a whole bunch of sheet music or responsibility comes out of nowhere and hits you like a pile of bricks. If there's any point in which you break down and consider quitting, it's now. But you've come so far, there's no way you can give it all up. So you just keep playing your music. During junior year, I reached the maximum level of efficiency. Academically, I peaked. This meant that I had a lot of free time on my hands. And the majority of this time, I used wisely. Practicing for SATs, figuring out where I wanted to go to college, and learning how to backflip. With my low level of flexibility and limited experience in gymnastics, what could possibly go wrong? So I set out to achieve this goal by first getting over the fear of throwing my body backwards through the air. I did so on a trampoline, and eventually I was able to transition this to solid ground. However, not without breaking my toe upon impact with the pool floaty that my friend and I had made into a sketchy tumbling track. Is my right toe, to this day, still bigger than my left toe? Yes. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Senior year comes like the perfect, authentic cadence at the end of a song. Maybe you've decided to join a group of musical scholars like a band for the next 4 years. Maybe you've decided to go solo for a while. Either way, the worst is behind you, right? Losing the state final soccer game was a pretty devastating moment for me, as I'm sure it was for the rest of my teammates. I've always hated crying in front of other people because it makes me feel weak. But in that moment, I couldn't help myself. This was the last shortcut soccer game I would ever have the chance to be a part of. At the end of the game, a huge rainbow appeared in the sky, which didn't seem fitting at all at the time, but I've come to realize that maybe it was fitting after all. It certainly was an incredible experience to get the chance to play in a state final, to be able to miss school and travel across the state in a really nice bus like a celebrity, to have the opportunity to play your favorite sport on one of the nicest fields in the state with your entire class coming out to support you, whether you win or lose. In truth, life is just like playing an instrument. You can't just pick up the instrument and immediately play well. It takes time and practice. There are going to be missed concerts, and mistakes are going to be made. There may even be times when you feel like quitting because, with all the practice and effort in the world, things won't necessarily go perfectly. Those who truly and fully succeed in life have indeed failed along the way, but they have had the strength and courage to get back up and keep going. They capitalize on the mistakes they've made in order to improve for the next time. And they don't forget to look back and just be glad to have had the opportunities. Whatever happens, you must have the determination to continue striving to be the best you can be. Success is not about the mistakes you make, but your ability to make up for it afterwards. That's what determines your character. As the famous author John Maxwell once said, a person must be big enough to admit their mistakes, smart enough to profit from them, and strong enough to correct them. So, with newfound confidence, we charge forward into the world. All of us have come a long way since the beginning 4 years ago, or maybe even 15 years ago. As graduating seniors, maybe we feel like we've got it all figured out. Maybe we feel like we've got nothing figured out at all, and deep down, we're a little scared to leave home for a while. Maybe it's a little bit of both. Either way, we've still got a little ways to go before we master our instruments. Plenty of time to have moments of triumph, moments of failure, and live our lives. However, to have made it here, it means we have succeeded thus far, but by no lack of failure. The mistakes we've made have not hindered our success, but have instead played an instrumental role in reaching it. Now, instead of closing with, "We made it," as the entirety of our class will be attending a college next year, I feel it's more suitable to close with, "We're halfway there." As broke college students, we probably will be living on a prayer. Just like 4 years ago, we don't know what's to come, but we've set ourselves up with the right foundation to go further. Everyone here has what it takes to make it. Now, with the instrument of education in our minds and in our hearts, it's time to shine in the spotlight. Let your Charge Your Spirit shine. The melody of Shorecrest will live on in my mind. Thank you again to all the people I've met and the experiences I've been so fortunate to have during my long timeline here at Shorecrest Preparatory School. We could not be more prepared for what lies ahead. So, send me on my way. To my fellow classmates, I wish you all the best. Thank you for the most amazing 15 years.
Each year, the faculty awards one member of the graduating class with the title of Outstanding Senior. The purpose of this award is to recognize a member of this class for exceptional achievements in a variety of fields, including academics, the arts, athletics, and community service. This member of the class will be invited to return in 10 years to speak at the graduation of the class of 2029, just as today's commencement speaker, Mr. Neustadt, was the outstanding senior for the class of 2009. The choice is never easy due to the excellence of our graduates, and this year's selection was no exception. This year's winner has been a force of nature both on and off campus during their time at the upper school. Academically, the student has received amazing marks in a variety of courses across the various departments, taking the maximum amount of advanced placement courses allowed. But beyond just a high grade, the student's teachers also comment passionately about the things that they add to class discussions and activities. These contributions are both intellectual in nature, as well as, quote, "an unwavering positive attitude," unquote, to borrow a phrase from one of my colleagues. The accomplishment of this academic success is all the more impressive when one considers it was done while the student was a devoted member of our theater program. It is no secret that the success of the theater program comes after many hours and days and weeks of practice. And even with all these commitments, the student excelled in the theater and in the classroom. As I reflect on their work in theater, a dilettante like me was most impressed by the role that they had in Cinderella this year, assigned to play a specifically horrible, negative, and cruel person, even though, as we've already seen, she has an unwavering, positive attitude. To see how she transformed into this character gave me chills because it is so unlike her. This was a very successful year for Shorecrest Athletics, and one of the most iconic photos from 2018-2019 shows 6 athletes, half of them in midair, exhibiting the purest joy and overwhelming elation. They had just won a state championship, a manifestation of years of work and commitment. And on the right of that photo, 2 fisted hands thrust to the sky, there was our outstanding senior. Our outstanding senior made massive contributions to the classroom, to the theater program, and to athletics, but the mission of Shorecrest also helps to build students that make the world a better place. To quote a cliche, we don't just try to encourage students to be good, but to do good. Just highlighting her work with Park over the past few years would provide dispositive evidence that she has made the world a better place, that she does good in this community. Her passion and dedication to bring some of her theater colleagues, as well as her theater education, to the clients at Park has unequivocally brought joy and happiness to that community. We always hope that the outstanding senior, all our seniors, makes everything they touch better, everything they're involved in stronger. And that is certainly the case for our outstanding senior of 2019, Jordan Trailins. I'm proud to present that on behalf of the faculty. And Jordan, we enthusiastically await when you return in 10 years to tell us what else you've done in this world.
This year's commencement speaker is a member of Shorecrest's class of 2009. He is a screenwriter and playwright based in Los Angeles. He graduated from Harvard University magna cum laude in 2014, where he wrote his thesis play based on research in Israel and the occupied West Bank. In college, he helped run the Harvard Institute of Politics and was an active participant in local politics, doing communications and speech writing for a state representative. He took time off his junior year to work, travel, and volunteer in Chile, mostly in Patagonia and Santiago. His plays have been performed and workshopped at theaters around the country. He is a two-time finalist for the Eugene O'Neill National Playwrights Conference and a finalist for both the Ashland New Plays Festival and the Sundance Episodic Story Lab. Currently, Gabe is writing a feature film assignment for 3311 Productions and is developing a miniseries with an Oscar-winning producer of The Hurt Locker, including other projects. Gabe's hobbies include bouldering, learning Yiddish, tinkering with 16mm movie cameras, supporting the Tampa Bay Rays, and watching as many classic films as he can. Mr. Levengood remembers Gabe fondly as an extraordinary student and sophisticated playwright who immediately and imaginatively tackled heavy-duty social and political issues with his work. Mr. Heller recalls Gabe, AKA Waldo, as a consistent participant in the history fair, a leader in youth and government, a formidable writer and playwright, and a wonderful fellow traveler to Italy and Greece. He is so happy to see that 10 years later, Gabe has melded all of his Shorecrest experiences into the career he has today. It is my pleasure to introduce Gabriel Neustadt.
All right, thank you for that. So first, congratulations, Jordan, wherever you are. For a moment there, I was transported back in time 10 years to when St. Barry was president and he didn't have a gray hair on his head. And I was sitting over there, where are you actually? There you are. I was sitting over there, or actually more like over there, with a bowl. And the 2009 speaker was going to give her speech, and I remember thinking how excited I would be to give it 10 years hence, and how much I was looking forward to accumulating all these life lessons and advice that I could relate to you guys, you cute little second graders who would all be grown up in 2019. And so then what I did was I procrastinated on it for 10 years. And when I actually sat down to write the speech, I realized I didn't actually have any idea what I was supposed to tell you. So, on the one hand, putting something off for 10 years might actually be a worthy accomplishment in itself. I justified it with statements like, if I wait another month, maybe I'll have gained enough wisdom to dispense with some of the speech, and then a month would go by and I'd think, well, okay, that didn't work. I'm not really wise enough yet, but maybe if once things settle down and I hear about this pitch that I gave to this production company, then I'll have enough wisdom and I'll write the speech. And I did this for the entire Obama administration and half of the Trump administration. And on May 19th was starting to grow disconcertingly near in the future. So I realized that I probably needed some advice on how to give advice. And so I asked Mr. Murphy to send me a few of the speeches from recent years so that I could see what they wrote. And he did the equivalent of sort of waving his hands at me and said, well, yeah, we'll look at them, but honestly, you shouldn't even bother reading them. Just write whatever you want. So he did actually give me this advice. So he wrote, here's what Mike wrote to me a couple of months ago. He said, quote, "We want to hear your story. The grads will want to hear anything that has happened that will allow them to think big and outside the boxes presented to them. They will want to know what has happened to your friends and what dreams they can imagine. How does one skip rungs on the ladder to success?" Unquote. These are all very interesting questions. I was particularly drawn to the last one, so I'll read it again. How does one skip rungs on the ladder to success? How does one skip rungs on the ladder to success? And it's a great question, and my answer is I have no idea. I have no idea how to skip rungs on the ladder to success. In fact, I didn't even know there was a success ladder. But it sounds great. And Mike, if you show me where it is, I'll climb up it, and I'll see if there are any rungs we can skip. So, you know, Mr. Murphy, God bless him, he didn't really help. And so then I texted Mr. Heller, with whom I've kept, in frequent contact with over the years, mostly because my mom keeps inviting him to every Jewish holiday. And, he texted me back something endearingly snarky, but also unhelpful. So then what I did was I posed the question. I wrote the question down on the whiteboard in my writing office. So I share a space with some other screenwriters and novel writers and things like that in LA. It's sort of a co-op for writers, so that we don't have to do all our work in Starbucks. And so I wrote on the board, what am I supposed to tell these high schoolers that I last saw when they were in second grade? What should I tell them at their graduation? And here's some of the really interesting responses that I got. And again, this represents collectively centuries of lived experience. So here they are. So the first one is be nice. The second is it just gets worse from here. The third is tell them to go watch the David Foster Wallace speech or something. And the fourth is learn a real skill, don't be a YouTuber. Okay? So, you didn't hear it? Okay, I'll say it again. Learn a real skill, don't be a YouTuber. So, by now I'm really worrying because, frankly, this all seemed like terrible advice. So I read, and watched a bunch of these other speeches, and I didn't really like them either. And, I'm kind of a perfectionist if you didn't get that. But I asked my roommate for advice. And my roommate is a pretty knowledgeable guy. He went to Harvard with me. He's also the guy who can't be bothered to put his dirty dishes in the dishwasher. But he actually had a substantial answer for me. And he said, okay, here's what you do. Here's what you do. Be Jesus in the first half, and be a Talmudic scholar in the second half. And I said, well, can you please elaborate? That makes no sense. And he said, well, yeah, sure. First you tell a parable. That's the Jesus part. And then you explicate and analyze the parable in meticulous, obsessively granular detail, and that's the Talmudic scholar part. And the idea is you get a nice story, and then you learn the lesson from it. So I said, great, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do Jesus, Talmudic scholar. And I realized, but then, then I realized I actually don't know any parables. I'm more of an Old Testament kind of guy. So that was not working out either. But I then remembered that it's helpful to write what you know. It can be helpful. I actually think that, you can kind of research anything and then you know it and you can write it, but it's also helpful to write what you sort of know intuitively and from experience. And so I thought, okay, well, all the things I've learned, most of them aren't really relevant to this. But, at about 2:30 in the morning today, I figured it out. And I figured out that I know how to procrastinate really, really well. In fact, it's definitely been the salient, most constant feature of my life since I got the silver bowl, is that I procrastinate. So the title of the speech is Fear and Trembling, A Spiritual Journey to the Ecstatic Heights and Despairing Depths of a Master Procrastinator. So I wasn't entirely sure what the moral here is or what the thesis statement should be. But then, by the time I actually started writing it this morning, my sister wanders down into the kitchen, and she asks me a very insightful question, which is, do you really have to do it this way, Gabe? Why do you always do this? And I said, no, in fact, I don't. I shouldn't do it, but I am, and I can't talk now, and I'm writing. But I do tip my hat to my sister in the front row here, because she inadvertently provided the very wise moral to this story, which is, do not do this, okay? Don't do what I do. Look at what I'm doing and do the complete opposite of that, okay? I blast through deadlines. This is actually funny. So this is one of the hazards of procrastinating is I wrote here, I blast through deadlines like, and I put in brackets, insert witty simile here, but I don't have one. You know, I've begged security guards to let me into buildings after they've closed so I could stick a late assignment in the professor's box. I actually, this is a kind of a funny thing, I didn't graduate on time because I procrastinated on my thesis, the play that they, you know, I researched in Israel and the West Bank, and that I really cared a lot about. But I procrastinated on it, so I had to submit it the next semester. I was an English major in college, and so I had to write a lot of papers, and routinely I would get feedback along the lines of, you know, this is great, it's really original thinking here, but it's 2 weeks late, so I'm gonna have to take points off. And I'd get this feedback all the time, like definitely on the majority of my papers. This is great, it's late. And you know, sometimes procrastination actually produces pretty miraculous results. There are a lot of successful procrastinators. I knew someone in college who became a Marshall Scholar, which is kind of like the Rhodes Scholarship. And she would do stuff like this, and it completely worked out for her. Aaron Sorkin, you know, one of my favorite writers, he often remarks that his writing process looks a lot like watching ESPN. You know, and it happens in the creative fields a lot, I think. You know, recently, the pretty successful Hollywood director and I basically rewrote an entire screenplay in 3 days before filming started. And it turned out pretty well. Another time I procrastinated on a play so badly that I had to write it in 4 days to meet the deadline for the big national competition. And so I locked myself in the kitchen with a pile of Cliff Bars and coffee, and I skipped Yom Kippur to write this play like an insane person. And the deadline was at midnight on Friday. And at 11:55, I wrote the end and sent it in. And it almost won the big national competition. And now there's this producer that wants to turn it into a scripted series. So sometimes it works out. But usually that does not happen. Usually it doesn't happen. More often than not, it ends up like kind of a barely contained disaster like Chernobyl or something. And this kind of thing, I promise I'm gonna tie it back to you guys. This kind of thing actually has its origins here at the Crest, okay? Do you guys, did Mr. Moore retire before you? Yeah, okay, so he's not here, but he was here for like a very, very long time. I took his US history class in 11th grade. And we had to write a big research paper. Mine was on the Treaty of Ghent, which ended the War of 1812, which weirdly will play into something I might talk about later. And Mr. Moore had told me, he had told all of us, do not turn in this paper late. Do not turn it in late. You will lose points. But I procrastinated anyway. And I wrote all through the night, and at 7 in the morning, I clicked file print, and the printer broke. And yes, it was awful. What do you know? US history was the first period of the day. So I decided to take it like a man and own up to it. And I went to school as we all filed in line to hand in our papers. And again, I'm talking about physical pieces of paper, not the electronic stuff. And we hand in our papers one by one. And I approached Mr. Moore sitting behind his desk like the boss that he was. Big bad Bradford Moore, the only man who put the fear of God into me more than my math teacher, Mr. Field. And Mr. Moore sees my two empty, trembling hands, okay? And he looks at me with a kind of lopsided smile, smirk that he does, and he says, "Where's the paper, Neustadt?" And I tell him what I told my panicked parents last night when I was writing this thing. I said, "It's coming." And he shouted, "Naked, Neustadt, naked in the woods, looking for a tree to hide behind." And I said, "Yeah, I know." And when break rolled around, I went to the computer lab and I printed out the speech that I emailed, and I had emailed myself, and I turned it in. And a couple weeks later, we got our papers back. And I flipped to the back page, and it had A+ written on it. And then the A+ was scribbled out, and another grade was written down there with one comment, and it was a little late. So again, the majority of the story is, the moral of the story is just please don't do this. But there's an interesting wrinkle in this, okay? Which is that my friend Alex, who graduated with me, who actually ironically lives about 5 minutes away from me now in LA, one of my closest, oldest friends, who might be more accomplished in the procrastinatory arts than I am, he barrels through the doors about 45 minutes into class, clutching his paper, which I know he finished 20 minutes before because it takes 20 minutes to drive from the Pasadena Yacht and Country Club to Shorecrest. And he barrels through the doors, and I realized, the crafty bastard, he gambled. He gambled that he could trade a demerit from Dean Sessions for an unexcused late arrival for school. And you could trade that for not getting a grade penalty in Mr. Moore's class, because technically speaking, Moore hadn't specified whether the papers were due at the beginning of class or the end of class. Okay, and infuriatingly, this worked. Okay, he didn't get any points taken off, and I did. So, again, I don't actually know what the moral of the story is other than don't procrastinate. Okay, so now let's fast forward to about 1 in the morning, which is about 13 hours ago, I think. I'm in a real masterpiece of putting something off. 10 years in the making, 3,652 days of not writing this speech. It's 1 in the morning, and I'm walking around somewhere in the old Northeast, actually, thinking, well, you've really screwed yourself this time. And I'm trying to come up with good ideas, and I'm hating everything I've come up with because it's either just a cliche or flat out untrue or somehow disingenuous to you guys. I probably passed some of your houses, so if you looked out the window and you saw this guy in glasses walking around talking to himself, that was me. And the embarrassing thing about all of this, the really embarrassing thing is that I actually have quite a bit of experience with graduation speeches. And here's the reason. The reason is that when I was here, I was in the band. And back then, before they piped in the pomp and circumstance like they do now, they had us play. Okay, and we sat over there. I played my saxophone, and we were, honking out pomp and circumstance over and over and over again while the iterations of you guys were filing in. And so I heard about 6 of these graduation speeches. Something like, between 6th grade and 11th grade, I sat there. And I would listen to all these commencement speeches that the guys like me would give. I remember none of them. And then I had mine in 2009. I don't remember that one. I remember the young woman was very enthusiastic about what she was saying. That's it. My college's graduation speaker was Oprah. I don't remember anything she said. And then I actually wrote 2 graduation speeches for other people, and I don't know what I wrote. They were both politicians. One of them really liked the Transcontinental Railroad, so he wanted something about that. And then the other was, I don't need to go into it, but anyway, the point is I've written 2 of these, so all in all, I've encountered in one form or another about 10 of these things, including my sister's college graduation, who had Hoda Kotb, who's by far the most entertaining. And so either I have this weirdly selective forgetfulness for commencement speeches, or there's something about the thing itself that's just not really working very well. And so I dug up a video of last year's Shorecrest commencement, and sure enough, the speaker who had my job last year, Blake, didn't remember his speech either. So we have a problem. Part of it might be structural. Part of it might be me. One problem is that I thought I would have changed, and it turns out I haven't really. One thing I think that encapsulates this is that every time I visit home, my mom goes out and she buys these chocolate teddy bear grams, which I've continuously eaten since I was pre-verbal. And again, I'm 28, okay? And I eat lunchbox snacks that most 9-year-olds would consider passé. So, and it's funny because I don't actually even like chocolate teddy bear grams that much anymore, but when I go home, there's still the box of teddy bear grams sitting in the pantry, and I eat the whole thing. And I ate the whole thing this morning at 3 a.m. while I was writing the speech. Anyway, how I haven't changed. I still have the same anxieties. I still have the same phobias. My diet's a little different, but I still do outrageously immature things. Sometimes I still pester my sister for the sheer joy of it. I make rash decisions. In the face of even slight adversity, I usually panic, like I did with this. I'm easily prone to feelings of hopelessness. And actually, probably most of you guys are way more mature than I am. So I'm not giving you any advice. I'm unqualified. If you have any advice for me, please find me after this and tell me. Thank you. I'm completely confused about most things. But more seriously speaking, I don't really know anything about any of you guys. And I don't know what you've been through, and I don't know what your individual experiences were like. So I don't want to condescend to you and pretend like I have advice for you. But then I thought, well, that's kind of a bummer. So, I should probably give him something. So I came up with, I came up with 2 pieces of advice that I'm pretty sure will hold up to scrutiny. Okay, ready? All right, here they are. So the first piece of advice, actually none of these are related to this. No, one of them is. The first one is not. The first one is that if you're in Paris, France, on a Friday, go to the Louvre, okay, and show them your student ID, and they'll let you in for free. And the reason, I'm serious. And the reason why this is really a wonderful thing that you should not miss, and you can only do this until you're 26, okay, so get on it, is that you're gonna have the entire museum basically to yourself, because it's a massive place, and most people don't wanna pay the 20 euros or whatever it is to get in. So you'll be there, and you can just scamper around the Louvre, okay, with no one there. And you'll say, oh, there's the Venus de Milo. And then you'll scamper by these massive epic paintings by David, the coronation of Napoleon. You'll say, oh yeah, I read about that in Gaglio's class, and it's this tiny little thing, and it's actually as big as that green screen behind you guys. And it's really remarkable. And then you'll keep going, and then if you're lucky, you'll just sort of aimlessly wander into the, they call it the room of state, which is where the Mona Lisa is. You'll go in and you'll look over and you'll say, oh, there's the Mona Lisa. And nobody's there, okay? Nobody's there. And if you've ever been before, there's usually a line that just snakes back and forth, all the way out into the hallway, okay? But you, because you're smart and you listened to this advice, and you went to the Louvre, and you showed them your ID, and you got in for free, you can just hang out with Lisa for hours, okay? And there are a lot of other great, amazing Renaissance paintings in that room that you can also just hang out with, okay? So that's the first piece of advice. What's the second? Oh, before I'll say that, I mean, the reason why I even bring this up is that, some of the happiest individual moments I've actually had in the past 10 years have been in art museums. They've been in the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, where I got to examine how his brush strokes evolved from when he was this, well, he was always unemployed, but when he was this especially unemployed guy just starting out, and he was painting in sort of this fake rip-off Rembrandt style. And I could see the way his brush strokes would evolve, and then all of a sudden he goes to Paris and he meets Delacroix and Toulouse-Lautrec, and instantly his entire style changes. You can see that. You can see the progression of the paintings in the museum. Other experiences like seeing Las Meninas in the Prado in Madrid. Standing there just contemplating this life-size painting and quite easily imagining yourself in early 17th century Spain with the king and queen while they're getting their portrait painted. And things like seeing Hieronymus Bosch's in the Garden of Earthly Delights in the Prado, and seeing the sort of amazing glowing quality of the green grass, this really weird acid green grass that you don't get, I see you dozing off, by the way, you don't get when you're just looking at these things on a PowerPoint, okay? Or seeing Renoir's Boating Party in the Phillips collection in DC. Anyway, I could go on. So the second piece of advice is, here it is. Second piece of advice is that when you start doing your taxes, don't wait until the last possible minute to do them. It's also important to know that if you're a freelancer like I am, and most screenwriters are, you have to pay both the employer and employee contribution to FICA, okay? So that means that you're paying an extra 2.6% on top of your income, under $116,000, right? That's extra on top of your other taxes. And if you live in California like I do, you also have to remember that capital gains is taxed as regular income. Okay, so you got to make sure you have enough money in the bank as a freelancer to cover your taxes. And I did not know any of this when I bought TurboTax on April 14th, 2014. I can assure you that was a terrible experience. All right, so we're winding up, I promise. So I had these two pieces of advice, but that was only like 2 paragraphs. So I was still sort of firmly in the up a creek category. I kept walking around the Old Northeast, and eventually my Fitbit buzzed, and I had reached my 10,000 steps. So it seemed time to go home. And I walked through the door, and my mom was asleep on the couch, as she usually is, and Dad was watching the behind-the-scenes segment of Game of Thrones. And he said, so did you finish the speech? And I lied, and I said yes. And I went back upstairs. And at some indeterminate time later, I had actually an original idea. which is that I guess I'll just write about the experience of not writing for the speech and hope for the best, and maybe the second graders will learn something from it. Okay. So, I heard a few times that Shorecrest prepares you for things. It prepared me for some things. I pretty much owe my livelihood to Mr. Levingood's playwriting class. Ironically, I might never have actually taken the class at all because it was my last ranked choice for an arts elective freshman year, and that's what they stuck me in. And then I realized I like it, and I ended up just taking the same class for over and over again for the next 4 years, and we just kind of made up different names for it. That's one of the nice things you get to do here. So the Shorecrest prepared me for some things. And based on my cursory scan of e-bites last night, it seems like you're also prepared for things. It seems like you're very prepared to use iPads and 3D printers. It doesn't make much sense for me to talk about all the things you're prepared for because when they happen, presumably you're going to be fine because you're prepared for them. So I'm not trying to be negative here, but I actually think that it would be a lot more entertaining and valuable if I talked about all the things that the Crest didn't prepare me for. Okay, so things I was egregiously unprepared for. So one was the tax fiasco. The next was when I almost died in Chile. Schneider mentioned that, but long story short is that I was kind of miserable midway through college and I decided to take a semester off. And I wanted to go down to Chile to work on my Spanish. First I wanted to go down to Venezuela to participate in the revolutionary activity that was going on there, but my mom shot that down very quickly. So I settled on Chile, which was sort of the next best thing. And I went down there all the way down to Patagonia, which, if you imagine Chile, it's sort of shaped like an upside-down asparagus. Okay? And at the top of the stalk, you have the Atacama Desert, which is where the telescopes are, and it's very beautiful. And then you have Santiago, and then at the bottom you have the whatever the top of an asparagus is called, where it's like that. And that's where I was. So way down at the bottom of the earth, okay, just before you get to the glaciers. And I went there because I had some interest in the environment, and mostly I just wanted to get as far away from Boston as I could, and that was pretty far. And so I found a foundation that was looking for some help in a community down there. Down in Patagonia, a lot of the land's being bought up by big mining companies, and they're stripping the land and doing all sorts of horrible things to the environment because Chile doesn't have very good conservation laws. Most of the conservation is private. So this foundation was down there just trying to help the people whose lives had been kind of upended by all this gross industrial activity down there. And so that's what I wanted to do. So the way you get down there is you take a 12-hour flight to Santiago from Miami. And then from Santiago, you go down to this really crappy little town called Puerto Montt, okay, which is the last stop on at civilization. And then what you have to do is you find your way to this little gravel airport landing strip thing. You jump on this plane, which sits about 3 people, and you take off in the plane, except my plane didn't take off because it wouldn't start. So eventually they kind of start spinning the propeller around manually, and it kicked into gear, and I thought, okay, great, I'm gonna die. And you go up into the clouds, and it's very foggy down there, and you land on this other gravel landing strip, miles away. And you wait for a bus, and the bus doesn't come. You wait for another bus, and the bus doesn't come. And finally, this bus shows up, and there are chickens on board, and it's gross and muddy, and you can't understand anyone because Patagonian Spanish is very weird. It's a bit like, Senora Andres's, lapidary Castilian, but filtered through a kazoo. And if she had an upper respiratory infection. It's really strange. So you don't understand what's going on. You think, okay, well, this will be about a 2-hour truck ride. It ends up being a 7-hour truck ride. And you get to the place, and then someone picks you up in a pickup truck. And you start going up these mountains, which are, of course, unpaved, and it's very muddy because it rains there torrentially. Okay, it's constantly raining. And you're going up the mountain, and I'm sitting on the passenger side, and I'm looking down 300 feet, and there's this frightening granite gorge below me with big rapids that are crashing on, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna die again. And sure enough, the truck actually loses traction and starts sliding backwards. So then I'm like, well, I'm really gonna die. But fortunately, Melanie, who's about a very chipper Texan, about this tall, she figured out what to do. And we got to where I was going, which was these two farmers. Okay, and the farmer was named Don Benedicto, and his friend was Hernan. All right, and these guys live completely off the grid. They don't have phones. The way you communicate down there is you all go into town with a little message, and you give the message to the local radio guy, and everyone tunes in at noon every day to give the message, and that's how everybody in these sort of surrounding mountains figure out what's going on, okay? So I went to this farm, and the reason I was going there was because I was trying to help these guys start like a little website kind of thing to get some tourism dollars in there. And so I hung out with them for about a week, and then the river flooded, and so I was stuck there, okay? All right, I promise I'm getting to the point. Here's the point. The river flooded. I'm hanging out with these guys. I don't understand them, like, at all. And finally, they say, well, okay, let's go for a horse ride. He said, do you know how to ride horses? And I said, sure. And we get on these horses, and we're climbing up the mountainside to what's going to be a very beautiful outcropping, where you can see the whole gorge below, the gorge I almost fell into. And the entire time I'm praying to myself, please don't fall off this horse. Please don't fall off this horse. You don't know what you're doing. This is going to end in disaster. And sure enough, a disaster started, which is that Hernan, who is sort of, these are interesting guys, they're sort of timeless. If you told me they were 200 years old, I'd believe you. Hernan is in front of me, and I see the hooves of his horse, and they're digging into the ground, and all of a sudden the mud gives way, and it starts a landslide, okay? And his horse is falling down over me. I'm thinking, great, I was right. And the horse flips over and falls onto my horse, and Hernan goes flying off, a little like the jockey at the Preakness the other day. And my horse, and again, I don't know how to ride horses, bolts around and starts galloping down this mountain, this muddy mountain. And again, I'm thinking, I'm dead. I'm dead. But I'd seen Blazing Saddles a couple times, so I knew that, what you're supposed to do when you want to stop a horse is you pull on the reins and you yell, whoa. So I did that. And again, nothing happened. The horse just kept going. So, I said, well, okay, well, maybe whoa, there's something different in Spanish that you're supposed to tell them. So I started yelling at the horse, calmate, tranquilo, and nothing happened. The horse just kept going and going like this horse at the Preakness the other day. And I still wasn't stopping, and I was plummeting down this mountain toward a violent death, and I just thought, well, this is it. And it was somewhat frustrating because the whole time I had this GoPro camera stuck to my forehead like this, and like an idiot. And I realized that the Chilean authorities were going to find my lifeless body with this dorky camera on my face, and they'd probably laugh at me. But again, I survived. I was not prepared for it, but I survived. The horse eventually stopped, and I'm still here. So the reason I say this is that there are a lot of things that I was not prepared for. A lot of them fall into the near-death experience category. I'm not going to talk about them. And then there were also a lot of good things, a lot of happy things that Shorecrest didn't prepare me for. And I thought to myself, well, what are the ways in which I wasn't prepared? I didn't know what was going to happen. I kept thinking, okay, 10 years back, 2009, where was I? I was sitting over there on the second row. And I made a little list of things that have changed, things that I had no clue were going to happen, things that I was not prepared for, okay? So a little comparison, 2009 to 2019, okay? So 2009, Tom Brady is the best quarterback in football. 2019, he's still the best quarterback. 2009, there weren't any electric cars. 2019, my dad drives one. 2009, Osama bin Laden was never going to be captured. He's dead. 2009, my grandfather was alive. 2009, it looked like Roger Federer had maybe another couple seasons in him. 2009, Bill Cosby was a guiding moral light for millions of people in our country, including me. 2009, it wasn't a potential safety hazard to attend a gay nightclub or a black church or a country western concert. 2009, it didn't occur to me to look for the emergency exits in my synagogue or in a movie theater. 2009, it was ridiculous to think that Shorecrest would ever hire armed security guards. Okay? And in 2009, it was absurd to think. It was not on the radar. It was not a thought in anyone's head that you could take out your phone and get a random person to drive their car to you and take you wherever you want to go. Or that, the vast teeming hordes of unemployed artists and actors in LA would make their living this way. In 2009, I thought, surely I'm a year or two away from being able to serve a tennis ball consistently and not completely implode every time I was up a game. In 2009, I didn't think I'd be the first guest at the first hostel in Ramallah. In 2009, I didn't think that the producer of my favorite movie that year would eventually be my employer. In 2009, I didn't think that the creator of my favorite television show, a man I consider one of the great artists of our time, a creative mind I idolize, and tried to fathom, whose work I tried to fathom and learn from for years, would read my play and tell me that I'm, quote, a really good writer, and then pay me to be his writer's assistant, and thrust me into this like Valhalla of creative teledramatic bliss, and then 3 weeks later fire me because I was so starstruck that I was completely incompetent at my job. Nor did I think in 2009 that this individual would tell me in complete seriousness and earnest of tone that he had met the ghost of Arthur Miller on the streets of New York, or John Cheever in the middle of the woods in Saratoga Springs. In 2009, I thought surely it would only be a couple years before I could grow a mustache like my dad. Anyway, fast forward to about 10:51 this morning. I'm banging it out at the kitchen table. My parents are freaking out in substantial ways. My dad is in the kitchen in his bathrobe, and he's saying, "You're killing me. You're killing me." And I say, "Quiet, I'm writing." And I was feeling okay about it. Eventually you just kind of turn on the jets and try not to think about it. And about 6 minutes later, my dad comes back and he kisses me on the cheek and he says, "I'm sorry, you're not actually killing me. It's my fault, it's not yours." And I like it when my dad kisses me because he has this fabulous mustache and it sort of tickles the side of my cheek. So it gave me a boost, and I kept going. And here we are, and all things considered, I think it's going okay. You seem entertained. But anyway, I know I've been stalling for 15 or 20 minutes, so I'm going to get to the meat of what I actually did want to say, what I came up with at 3 in the morning. And this, again, it's not advice, okay? It's not advice, it's command, okay? I'm telling you to do this. This is an imperative statement, okay? And the thing I want you to do, please, is when you're at college in a few months, okay? I want you to seek out people who are lonely, okay? I want you to go to the loners and try to befriend them, okay? These people are also often, they're sitting in the dining hall, they're pretending to do work, but they're really not. And I'm talking about people that you wouldn't normally want to hang out with. People who seem a little weird, okay? They seem grouchy, they seem kind of mean. And go to them, and try to be their friends, but not because you feel bad for them, okay? Don't condescend to them. Don't try to, bring them to the table with all your other scary friends, okay? Ask them for their advice, okay? Ask them to help you with your problems, okay? Be vulnerable to them. Engage them as individuals. And, again, the people I'm talking about, right? They probably look weird. They probably have, weird tics. They probably wear strange T-shirts. They might smell bad, okay? And you might be thinking, why the hell is this guy telling me to do this? Why am I supposed to hang out with someone unpleasant? Okay? But I'm telling you that it's much, much harder to hang out with people like that. It's really hard. And maybe nothing will come out of it. Maybe they're going to hiss and growl at you or something, and you're going to run away. Okay? But on the other hand, some of these people are going to be great, and they're just very misunderstood people. Okay? And a lot of them might be really miserable and lonelier than you can imagine. But these are individuals. Okay? These lonely, miserable people, they have personalities. They might know things that you don't. They might teach you things. You might teach them something. And the reason I'm talking about this is because one of the dirty secrets about college is that people can become really miserable there for all kinds of reasons, right? Kids are away from their parents. It's easy to become isolated. Mental health services aren't very good usually. Or maybe it's just their own fault. And it's a sad irony that, in a place where so many people are crammed so tightly together that anyone could possibly feel lonely. But it happens for a whole host of reasons. It happens all the time. And it's one of the worst feelings that a person can feel. It drains the life out of you. And again, I don't really care if it's their fault. They're suffering, and even if you can't really do anything about it, I do think that you guys have a responsibility to try. Okay? And if all 72 of you do that with someone, that's a lot of happiness that can be accomplished. It's a lot of loneliness and suffering that can abate. And by the way, I'm particularly directing this part of the speech to those of you guys who are like the popular ones, right? The ones who are really good at sports. You know who you are. I'm just saying, don't be selfish, okay? You guys tend to clump together without realizing it. You're just these dazzling cliques of beautiful people, okay? I'm just saying, don't be selfish. Spread the good stuff around, okay? Try to form some relationships with people you really don't think you want to hang out with, okay? So you might be surprised, and they really need it. Anyway, so if you have any questions, or if you think that was, idiotic, and you want to tell me why, you can look me up on Facebook and you can tell me. Or you can tell me you did it. You can tell me that it worked out great. Or you can tell me that it worked out terribly and the person spit on you or something, or they beat you up. Okay? But again, you did it. And I'll probably send you a thumbs up emoji or something, or nice job. Okay, so now we're done, almost. Fast forward to 12:03 p.m. today. So I'm at my desk with an espresso and some fruit and the box of teddy bear grams, and I'm thinking, go, 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 next paragraph, next. Now it's 12:47, okay, and I'm still typing. This is really, really rough. Go. And it's starting to feel like, you ever see that Star Wars spin-off, Rogue One? Yeah? And for the uninitiated here, it's a prequel to the first one. And at the very end, they finally get the rebel plans. And they got to get it to the blockade runner before, the Empire obliterates them. It's starting to feel like that, okay? It's starting to feel like, go, go, go. Get the plans to the rebel blockade runner before the planet goes up. Go, go. Finish typing. The planet's going to blow up. Oh, God, it's 1:47 p.m. And Mom's freaking out in major ways, and Dad's sweating, and it's now 1:55, and they're shouting, Gabe, where are you? Now it's 2:14, okay? Like, not long ago. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, just finish it, okay? So I email it to myself, I run downstairs, I pull it open on my dad's computer, and I'm praying, please, printer, do not fail me. Please, printer, don't fail me like it did back in 11th grade. And it printed, it worked. So again, the procrastination kind of paid off. So we all jump in the car, we go, 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 step on it, Mom, they're gaining on us. And who's gaining on us? I don't know, but just never mind, just step on it, okay? And my sister's saying, Gabe, you ate the entire box of teddy bear grams. And I say, go to hell, Sid. And Mom's stepping on it. We're zooming down First Street, okay? In the Mercedes. Actually, sorry, that's not what happened at all. We jumped into my dad's Tesla, and now we're zooming down First Street, okay? And that's a fun experience. So we zoom down First Street. We enter the school. Whoa, it looks really different. Gabe, have you rehearsed yet? No, sorry. Well, you really screwed yourself this time. So we screech to the hall behind the auditorium, into the Student Activity Center, and there's Mr. Heller and everybody else. And I'm not late. And Mr. Heller looks at me and he says, what is your speech about, Gabe? And I say, hope. It's about hope. So blackout, roll credits, we're done. Thanks.
While the students are leaving, Amy Lettler, would you please do me a favor and come join me on stage? We have a little surprise in a few moments, but I need Amy Lettler to please come forward. Now, Gabe Neustadt, would you please join me? Now, I have a feeling that all of the faculty are feeling exactly what I'm feeling right now. When we go through the process of selecting the outstanding senior, we're, as Mr. Page said, looking for someone who represents everything that is a part of the mission of the school: great academics, athletics, arts, service, great character. And Gabe, your message, your final message of hope and asking these students to be kind to that one person who might need a friend was one of the greatest commencement speeches I've ever heard. You are exactly why we select an outstanding senior and why we're so proud we selected you 10 years ago. Thank you so much for coming back. Jeff, Susan, Sydney, we give a special welcome to you. Thank you for getting here on time. All the people over there know I'm time compulsive, and they know that when you weren't here an hour early, I was dying already. So thank you very much. Before I move on in this program, I do want to extend a very special thank you to members of the faculty and staff who have put this program together. Debbie Schenkman, Dave Charlo, Brad Miller, Julie Meyer, who are all out in the back with our junior ambassadors, Tiffany Blessing, Bonnie Clement, Megan Schneider, Don Page, and Eric Schneider. Would you please join me in thanking them? This would not happen without them. Thank you very much. It is absolutely my honor and privilege to welcome all of you to our commencement exercises for the class of 2019. And if you have ever been to one of the Shorecrest commencements, when I get to introduce the class and celebrate the class, I warn you that I'm about to take a few minutes naming the achievements of individuals and the class, and I will be naming the students. But because we have 3 Jackies, 3 Wills, 2 Ethans, and 2 Coles, I'll be adding the initial of the first initial of the last name of some of those people for whom I'm referring. Otherwise, I trust and I'm confident that you'll be able to follow along with the first names that I use. This class and their families have had an incredible history with our school. No class has ever had a higher percentage of students received a longevity medal, which they have earned for attending Shorecrest for 12 years or for having their parents invest about $250,000 in tuition. The commitment that these students and their families have made has greatly appreciated, and I want to thank them and recognize them today. I'm going to ask the students to please stand as I call their name and to remain standing. The 15 members that came in Alpha were Chris, Delaney, Taylor, Will F., Natalie, Jake, Alexandra, Will H., Senna, Bruno, Aiden, Brendan, Jacqueline S., Logan, and Taylor. Please keep standing. They were followed the next year. Give them a round of applause. There are 15. By the way, you may think you're special because you did 15 years. Gabe did 16. Believe it or not, Mrs. Goodson asked the Neustadts to have Gabe repeat Alpha. We were redshirting him for Harvard, and it worked. Please keep standing. The students then who came in junior kindergarten were Olivia, Ashton, Cole S., Emma S., Emily, and Walker. And then 9 others came in kindergarten. And there was Trevor, Ashley, Felina, Sophie, Safe, Scott, Stephen, Tate, and Reagan. That's 30 lifers. Congratulations. You may sit. So, to all of you, we thank you so much. Now, there are a group of students in this class, 8 of them. RJ, Trevor, Will H., Senna, Ashton, Cole, Emma, and Walker. They're the 8 members of the class who are the children of Shorecrest graduates. And it's notable that Ashton and his father Charles, and Jake and his mother Amy, and Senna and her father Dan from the class of '84, they have become double lifers. Now, I am not sure if I have ever missed this before in a commencement, but it occurred to me, let's start something new. Because when Amy and Charles and Dan were lifers, they received a book. But today, I'm going to ask Ashton and Chaz and Jake to come join me at the podium. Senna, come join me at the podium. And so Chaz and Dan and Abby, if you would come to the center where your sons and daughters are standing. And I am honored to award the longevity medallion to you, and I'm asking that your sons and daughters present them to you today. Double lifers. Please have a seat. Thank you very much. Amy, you're welcome to keep this seat. Okay. There's 21 members of this class who have siblings who are Shorecrest alumni, and I certainly welcome all of the alumni who have joined us on this special occasion. 11 members of this class have parents or grandparents who have served or are serving on the Board of Trustees. I know this is a very special day for all of you, and I welcome and thank our emeritus trustees and our current board members for being here. Then there's Finn, Reagan, Ashton, Cole, Emma, and Lily, all who have parents who have at one time had parents who have served as faculty, coaches, or administrators at our school, and I know it's a very special day for those colleagues. Like I said, this class has very close ties to the school, and I thank all the families for your support for your sons and daughters, their peers, the faculty, and the school. There are 72 members in the class of 2019. They will attend 42 different colleges and universities. Half of this class will attend universities in Florida. 14 others will attend colleges in the South. 12 will attend in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. 6 will be in the Northwest, 1 in the Southwest, 2 out west in California, and 1 in China. The average GPA for the class is 3.84. The average SAT on the 1600 scale is 12,089. The average ACT is 28. 73% of the class are eligible for Bright Future scholarships, and to date, the members of this class have been offered over $5.1 million in scholarships to colleges and universities. This class has 3 National Merit finalists, RJ, Will H., and Aiden, and then 4 more National Merit Commended Scholars, Ben and Jake, Will N., and Jordan. Our valedictorian, who we heard from today, is Chris, and our salutatorian, who we heard from, is Carly. And as we saw earlier, Jordan is the outstanding senior. And Jordan, we invite you to come back tomorrow morning, right around 10:30, to do a photograph with the 2nd grade, who you will speak to 10 years from now. And as you've learned, you don't have to start writing the speech until 10 years from now. We are pleased that 6 members of this class have earned the Global Scholars designation, And we say congratulations to Jackie B., Sophie, Natalie, Will H., Olivia, and Reagan. Reagan is the member of this class who is going to attend the United States Naval Academy, and we salute her and congratulate her. In case you didn't realize this class has had incredible student leadership. The student council was led by Lily, Trevor, Ethan S., Thomas, and Reagan. We are fortunate to have had these incredible student ambassadors, Zach and Aiden, Will N., Tate, Alexandra, Natalie, Sophie, and Will H. Graham and Renice were recipients of the Rotary Youth Award. Members of this class exhibited great leadership away from school. Jackie B. for the city of Pinellas Park on their youth boards. Natalie with Jack and Jill. Dominic and Lily with Hobie. Trinity at her church as a piano player. Walker, Chris, Will H., and Aiden are the 4 Eagle Scouts in this class. Walker's Native Species Project on our own campus earned him the prestigious Hornaday Conservation Award, rarely given by the Boy Scouts of America. And not surprisingly, Walker, Chris, Jake, and Jordan have served on our Honor Council. To my knowledge, more than any class before them, members of this class took on jobs and entrepreneurial adventures. Charlie, Saif, Rahil, RJ, Stephen, Will N., Cassandra, Danielle, Ethan F., Sarah, Ryan, both Coles, Emma, and Taylor are some who showed independence, creativity, and responsibility in different workplace environments, and we congratulate them. Rhett, Thomas, Tate, Scott, and Senna were leaders with our Red, White, and Blue Club. Olivia, Nicole, and Bruno were the senior leaders with our yearbook, Crestviews, and it's beautiful, and we thank you. Will H. added greatly to upper school assemblies with his This Month in History productions. Haley led our Girls STEAM Club and for students at Academy Prep. She also was the key leader for our robotics team this year. 10 members of this class committed to the Pre-Med Club. Jackie B., Christopher, Delaney, Natalie, and Cassandra were in leadership roles. Finn and Braden, Preston, Stephen, Thomas, Rhett, Aiden, Logan, and Saif have all shown interest in technology and engineering. 30 of the 72 students in this class plan to pursue STEM majors in college. We are incredibly proud of the wonderful generosity and efforts and leadership the members of this class have contributed to service organizations in our city, in our region, and in the world. And even though Carly joked about Mr. Duran Medina's message about some of you aren't going to graduate, the members of this class contributed 11,682 hours of service during their 4 years in upper school. That's an average of 162 hours per person. But there were some outstanding leaders. Jordan, Olivia, Jackie, and Senna were joined by classmates Zach and Adeline and Noah, and for 2 years they led Relay for Life on our campus for the American Cancer Society. During that time, they raised over $170,000 as team leaders and thousands of dollars more during their time as Relay participants when they started in middle school. Angel, Chris, Renice, Rahil, Will H., Priscilla, Bruno, Aiden, Zach, Lily, and Jacqueline S., Jordan, and Olivia all served well over 200 hours, some of them more than 500 hours of service during their years in high school, at the Free Clinic, at the Ronald McDonald House, at Habitat, at local churches and synagogues, at Park, at Boy Scouts, at YMCA, at St. Anthony's, at Grade X, at summer camps, at Kind Mouse, Preserve the Berg, Spark, Park, at the Dolly Museum, and All Children's Hospital, just to name a few. Federico has volunteered with international agencies across Asia, but particularly in China and Nepal during his years in upper school. And then there's classmates like Bella and Ashley, Delaney, Alexandra, Carson, Tate, and Adeline, who have committed to the food bank, to Spark, to public libraries, to the Horse Rescue Project, to Park, to Habitat, and organizations all over. We applaud all of you for your amazing acts of service. This class has absolutely raised the bar for all future classes in arts and humanities. Scott, Trinity, Jake, and Alexandra have been recognized for their remarkable writing success. The Scholastic Art Awards presented gold medals to Angel and to Ashley for their amazing artwork. Dr. Hine from the Dali Museum awarded Angel Best of Show during Celebrate the Arts. Walker received the Blue Ribbon for his ceramic work. Scholastic also recognized Alex, Alexandra, Carly, Jackie P., Maria, and Trinity for their paintings, their mixed media work, and drawings. Nicole has been recognized for her filmmaking. Bella's paintings and photography have added beauty to offices, galleries, and hallways throughout the school. And I do want to give a very special shout out to Bella's friend Maria, who collated Bella's AP portfolio when Bella was recovering from oral surgery just a few weeks ago. And just this past Friday, we learned that out of 340,000 submissions to Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards, Angel scored in the top 1% of the country and received silver medals for a drawing and an illustration. The class of 2019 had amazing students excel on our stage and at Thespians. Senna and Dominic have advanced to the finals of the National High School Musical Theater Awards. At state competition, Will H's student-directed scene received superiors. The large group musical, including RJ, Jordan, Danielle, Dominic, and Senna, also received superior marks. Senna was a part of the cast that won the highest honor, Critics' Choice, for a scene from Cinderella. At districts, the cast of Puss in Boots received superiors, and that included Olivia, Finn, Tanner, Senna, and RJ. Scott received a superior for his playwriting. Jordan received superior scores for her monologues. We saw a little taste of that last night at Baccalaureate. Classmates RJ, Will H., Jordan, Olivia, Danielle, Finn, and Aiden all have leadership roles on this stage this year for fabulous theater and thespian programs. Danielle is the outstanding dancer of this class. Classmates Scott, Stephen, Tanner, and Brendan were invaluable support with set construction and stage leadership. And just last week, we learned that the Straz Center, which hosts the Broadway Star of the Future Awards, named Jordan Outstanding Supporting Performer and Senna Best Actress in a musical for their performance at Cinderella. Senna will soon learn if she moves on to the competition in New York. We have our fingers crossed for her. She's very deserving. This class of 2019 also had very committed musicians and music producers. Cooper, Ben, Ethan S., and Will H. led our bands, while Ben and Ryan, Bruno, Cole, and Ethan made their mark with the recording arts program. Both Trinity and Adeline are known for their piano and keyboard skills. The arts have flourished with this class. We are going to miss them. This class of 2019 also played a vital role in an incredible year for Shorecrest athletics. You are willing to cheer for anyone you wish at this point. At least 8 members of this class are going to go on and participate in collegiate athletics. That's 11% of the class. The national average in high school is 7%. RJ is going to play football at Case Western Reserve. Sophie will dive at Brown. Renice will play basketball at Berry. Dominique will dive at SMU. Carly will sail at Penn. Lily will sail at USF. Elizabeth will sail at Boston College. And Jacqueline St. Cyr will play volleyball at USF. But speaking of volleyball, I want you to allow me to make a prediction that is pretty obvious. To become a member of the Shorecrest Athletic Hall of Fame, you have to have been away from the school for 6 years. 6 years from now, we can predict that our state championship volleyball team will return to be inducted in that Hall of Fame. And so I'd now like to ask those members from the senior class, our state champions, to stand one more time and take a bow. And they are Ashley, Delaney, Jackie, Jacqueline, Jordan, and Taylor. Keep saying. Show everybody your rings. Flash those rings. I know some of you are wearing. Now just keep standing. Because Renice gets to join them. Because Renice... Renice won the state championship for the triple jump. But also, she should be joined by standing with RJ, who also participated in the state championships. And had runner-up in shot put. Alex, would you stand also? Alex competed in the pole vault. Trevor, you should stand. Trevor competed in the state. All of them keep standing. And then I'd like our state runner-up soccer team, Logan, Cole, Brendan, Christopher, Aiden, and Alex, to stand. We congratulate you for an amazing season. We congratulate all 17 of our seniors and their coaches who advanced to state championships this year. What an amazing year. Congratulations, you guys. Other teams had incredibly memorable seasons and great moments. Our senior sailors, Zach, Lily, Carly, and Elizabeth, were 5th in the Southern District, the most difficult sailing district in the country. And Carly and Elizabeth won their final race of the season at the district regatta. I'm not sure what was the bigger event this year. The football team winning the homecoming game in its final drive against ODA, or Mr. Page dropping his arms to release the student body to swarm them. It was an amazing moment. Taylor, Sarah, Reagan, Trinity, and Tanner, and Will H. were the senior leaders on the swim team that maintained the streak of being district champions for 15 consecutive years. Graham, Cooper, and Jake were the senior leaders on the basketball team that was named academic champion for the level 4H by Florida High School Athletic Association. Cooper, Aiden, and Brendan were honored with the Triple Crown Award for playing 3 varsity sports during senior year. 5 members of this class broke school records this year. RJ in the shot put, Renice in the long jump and triple jump. She also broke it in the 4x100 relay. Sophie broke the record in diving, Dominic in diving, and Trevor in pole vault. Taylor, a year ago, was on the swimming relay team that broke 2 school records. Congratulations to all of them. Renice joined the 1,000-point club in basketball and finished her career with 1,282 points. Some other athletic highlights included Jake was the Hayford Award winner as the Male Athlete of the Year, and Jacqueline S. was the Risser Award winner, Female Athlete of the Year. Our baseball players, Will N. hitting .394 and leading the seniors with 26 hits, and Ashton hitting .342 and leading the team with 31 RBIs and 3 home runs. Congratulations to you guys. Some of our students were remarkable away from school. Felina is an accomplished ice skater. Ethan, beyond being an all-conference defensive lineman, excelled in the martial arts. Michaela is an accomplished equestrian and plans to pursue her equestrian goals as she goes on to college. Reagan is an all-American triathlete. Noah is our best hockey player. Scott Manning has been the mascot Sparky. His brother Steven is our leader with the Sports Network. And there's not much we can say but safe. This class, you were the voice, and we appreciated it, man. Thank you. But I must say that the two most important memories of this athletic season, maybe even the school year for me, has been watching Hunter and Will F. overcome injuries that, beyond the broken bones and injuries that could have easily broken their spirits, both Hunter and Will stuck it out through their seasons with their teams. They worked hard enough to rehab and then to play in the final games of the season. And so I applaud both of them for their grit, the spirit, their comebacks. It's the very best of athletics. So seniors, this may be the last time you are referred to as seniors for a few years. You are soon to become graduates, and then you're going to start all over again as freshmen. In a moment, if everything goes as I think it's going to go, Mr. Page is going to say the following words. The awarding of the diplomas rests on the authority of the faculty who recommend the candidates to the Shorecrest Board of Trustees. Board Chair Mr. Leary, the Shorecrest trustees, on behalf of the faculty, I present to you the candidates for diploma in the class of 2019. So the faculty who have taught, coached, directed, and mentored you believe you are ready for the next stage of your life. And they're going to present you to the board because it is the board that gives you the Shorecrest diploma. And we all hope that you are as proud as we are of your achievements and the potential that we believe you all have. But families and friends, for a moment before we celebrate our soon-to-be graduates, please join me in thanking all of the Shorecrest faculty and staff who have been teachers, coaches, directors, mentors, and friends through these years. Faculty, we thank you so much for everything you do for these students. I would also like you to join me in thanking the Board of Trustees, our current board and our emeritus boards. As volunteers, they provide the leadership, the resources and support that allow the faculty and the students at our school to stay on mission and to excel. Board, we thank you very much for what you've done. So a few years ago, Shorecrest broke from the practice of presenting diplomas in alphabetical order, and we started the practice of having members of the class, of the graduating class, draw names from a commencement basket. Mr. Page is going to draw the first name, and he's going to call that person forward. And that person's going to draw a name, not look at the paper, but give it to Mr. Page, and that person will then go receive his or her diploma from Mr. Leary, the chairman of the board. And this is going to go on until the final member of the class is called, and that person is going to receive a golden mortarboard. It's a symbol that great things can happen if you come last. The random distribution of diplomas is our way of reminding these students and all of us that many random opportunities are going to come our way. And even though we can try to control our fate, it is in the end the way we make the best use of these unexpected people and unexpected events that will really fill our lives. Class of 2019, you have been spectacular. It is time to commence. Cheers to all of you.
The awarding of diplomas rests on the authority of the faculty, who recommend the candidates to the Shorecrest Board of Trustees. Board Chair, Mr. Leary, and Shorecrest trustees, on behalf of the faculty, I present to you the candidates for diploma in the class of 2019. Graham Joseph Heckert. Carson Chaffee Holmes Boring. Senna Prosatong. Noah Harrell Schulman. Haley Ann Schoenberger. Scott Allen Mannings. Adeline Thomas. Aiden Katz Samuelson. Elizabeth Lee Shanahan. Delaney Ashlyn Koonsman. Cooper Lanigan. Felina Ann Dilly. Federico Zhang. Jake William Friedman. Benjamin Zev Berner. Priscilla Anna Peridot. Walker Armstrong Willis. Sarah Elizabeth Miller. Emma Sage Savitsky.
I should do it just to make it.
Cole E. Persinger.
Just a little pause.
Danielle Christina Hernandez. Taylor Lynn Jean Waldman. Jacqueline Nicole Barnes. Tanner Allen Williams. Brendan Thomas Smith. Isabella Luz Rosson. Dominic Jonathan Hafer. Thomas Brett McMullen. Ashton Charles Reynolds. Hao Zhang. Angel Grace Sherman. Cassandra Christina Funk. Renice Dakers. William Roderick Hill Hess. Carly Kungsiri. Finn Joseph Dillo. Hunter Ramirez. Ethan James Forsyth. Alexandra Hairston. Saf Hussein Galani. Charlie Hardgrove. William Owen Newton. Sophie Pritchard Elwin. Randolph John Ayers II. Bruno Emerson Rocha. Christopher George Canizares. Trinity Jewel White. Ryan Michael O'Neill. Tate Roger Christian Mayo. Jordan Raquel Trailins. Stephen James Mannings. Taylor Margaret Emerson. Alexander James Fox. Jacqueline Janine St. Cyr. Ashley Burkett. Jacqueline Rose Perry. Rhett Oakley Kaler. Zachary Aaron Openlock. Michaela Caroline Jones. Ethan Scott Seltzer. Natalie Yvonne Fort. Preston Gorin. Reagan Quilty. William Henry Forney. Raheel Pansiria. Lily Gail Schneider. Maria Rose Hallowell.
Well done. He's got it.
Olivia Ann Olson. Trevor Nathaniel Bernstein. Braden Christopher Rafter. Cole Adam Savitsky. Logan Stanger. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing class of 2019.
Friends, family, teachers, and faculty, all of which apply to my parents, Dad, Mom. On behalf of the class of 2019, I thank you for attending today's graduation and for being there for us each step of the way. We truly wouldn't be here without you all. And to the class of 2019, congratulations. We're finally alumni of Shorecrest. Today, on May 19th of 2019, we've made it. After years of hard work, commitment, ups and downs, and highs and lows, we've made it. And I couldn't be more proud of each of us. From the moment I stepped on Shorecrest campus in 2005 with my purple rim transition glasses and light up Dora Skechers, I've made lifelong friends.
And to think that today I am graduating with these amazing people 14 years later is absolutely incredible. I remember cheering along with the cheerleaders on the sidelines of the old crisp gym during pep rallies thinking, I'll never be as tall as those big kids. But here we are on graduation day. Our class was born in 2000, 2001, naturally exposing us to the change throughout the years to come. We were the first born in the new millennia. As we entered lower school, middle school, and upper school, we welcomed a new head of each division, Dr. Bianco, Ms. Johnson, Mr. Page, and when we finally reached upper school, we were the first to experience the new schedule and, of course, Charter Commons. What we've learned through all of this is that change is good. Sometimes change can be hard or difficult, sometimes it's exciting, but above all, it's really great. Sometimes these positive changes happen right in front of us. Take the most recent change we've just encountered, the movement of our tassels. No matter how simple, this is symbolic of all the much bigger changes we have seen and indicative of our ability to embrace change. It's symbolic of our dedication and passion to continue our education and growth as curious individuals. As we head off to college in a few months, let us become excited for what's ahead and the changes that will lead us to places we've always dreamed of. Reflecting upon our high school career, one theme was consistent through it all, making the most of each and every opportunity. I've learned from all of you these 4 years that it's not what happens that matters, but rather how you react that matters most. How you react makes you the person that you are, and it's quite obvious from this year that our class consists of positive and forward-looking individuals. Even though some things didn't work out the exact way we expected them to, we made the very best of each scenario. For instance, although losing homecoming was a little bit of an upset for our class, we grew stronger together and showed lots of support and excitement for the winning junior class. Plus, what other class had a saxophone soloist perform Careless Whisper for the entire upper school? Thanks, Cooper. When our senior retreat was rained out the first time, we didn't let it affect our enthusiasm for tacos and swimming the second time. Instead, we ate tacos and swam on a day with equally as bad weather as the first day, but I think we can all agree that we had a great time. We spelled freshman wrong on the class t-shirt that year, and instead of complaining and becoming embarrassed, we made it a tradition to spell sophomore and Junioir wrong for the next 2 years following. We made the best of each and every opportunity that came our way, and this sense of camaraderie and optimism makes the strongest people in life. I think it's fair to say that we owe it in part to Shorecrest for instilling these values in us, which make us the passionate, determined, and kind individuals we are today. We're a class of future innovators, doctors, artists, athletes, lawyers, whatever we want to become, and I can't wait to see how we will all change the world. A little while back, I was babysitting Mr. Page's genius 4-year-old son, Drew. As is his normal bedtime routine, he picked up a few books from off the shelf to read, one being Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Now, I know what you're thinking. It might be cliche and overdone, but the message is really important to all of us graduates. It's something we all have to hear at least once in our lives. Drew and I reached a page that immediately reminded me of graduation. In part, it reads as follows. You will have great adventures your whole life, and so I give you these maps. Oh, the places you'll go. You may travel the world, but no matter how far, with a map on your lap, you will know where you are. After I read this passage, I told Drew that I was graduating high school in a few months and would travel to the faraway land of Tampa. He said, you should get this book because you're going to go so many places too. And that speaks for all 72 of us. We're all going to travel the world, invent a product, write a book, design new technology, fight for freedom, save a life. Whatever it might be, never forget where you've come from. And to remind you to never forget, I'd like each of you graduates to reach under your chairs for a map that I've printed out for each of you. It pinpoints each city of the colleges we will all be attending and a lightning bolt to mark where we've all began, Shorecrest. Thank you for everything you guys have given me these past 14 years. The little girl with purple-rimmed glasses and Skechers wouldn't be the person she is today without your kindness, resilience, humor, and spirit. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2019.
Please rise for the recessional.